All right, this is your pre-trip inspection for First Student White Bear Lake. This pre-trip is in 4 sections. We're going to start with section 1. Now we're going to start, when you go to the testing center, you're going to park, secure the bus, bring the key in, meet with the tester. They'll go over some paperwork. They'll show you how the test works. So we start our pre-trip when you're coming back out with the tester. So you're going to have your key, and you're going to go into the bus and get it set for the pre-trip. So to come in, sit down, take this key, put it in the run position, press down the service brake, and wait for the lights to turn off in the ceiling. Once those lights are off, the first thing we're going to do is check our air tanks. We want to make sure the air tanks are full before we start the pre-trip. Now, seeing that we're a little bit low, if your tanks are low, like these ones are right now, before you start anything, you're going to start it up. Make sure your fast idle button is on. You're going to see that you're idling at about 1200 RPMs, and you're just going to watch your air tanks until they fill completely. You'll know they filled completely when you hear, when the compressor, the governor turns off the compressor, it makes a sound. Sounds kind of like a sneeze. So when you hear the bus sneeze, you know that your tanks are full. All right, that means the tanks are full. We're going to shut it off again. So off, wait about 2 seconds, back to run. Push in the brake pedal, and once again, we're going to wait for these lights to turn off. That means that the child check is deactivated. Now those lights are off. So we can take the foot off the brake. Everything is set. All the lights are off. Everything is off. The only thing that you want on is your destination sign, because that turns off when you turn the key off. So now we're going to go out and we're going to start the pre-trip. So I'm going to walk to the front of the bus, and this is where you're going to start. I'm looking at the bus to see if it's level on all sides. I'm checking underneath the bus to ensure that there are no puddles or leaks. Now, while you're undoing the latch, you're going to check all of your mirrors, starting with the passenger side. Undo this latch. Check all my mirrors secure, not damaged, not cracked. You want to touch the front of each mirror as you're going around. Secured, not damaged, not cracked. Secure, not damaged, not cracked. Secure, not damaged, not cracked. Undo the other latch, and then we're going to pull the hood open. So now we're doing the engine check on the driver's side. Starting with mirrors, which we've already done. So we're going to go to all hoses. All hoses are, we've got air hoses here, radiator hoses here, all the hoses on the engine. Secured, not damaged, no visible cracks or audible hissing. Engine and transmission. Again, engine, transmission is just this general area. No fluids dripping around or underneath. Fuses. Extra fuses are here. Engine oil dipstick, which is right here. Levels between add and full. Power steering fluid, which is right here. If you forget, it says right on the cap, power steering fluid. Level is between add and full. Steering box, right here. It is secured to the frame, no damage and no leaks. Steering hoses is right here. Secured, not damaged or leaking. Steering linkage. Linkage is right here, coming from the steering wheel, going down into the steering box. Secured, not cracked or worn. No missing rods, arms, nuts, bolts, links, or cotter keys. Leaf spring, it's right down here. Secured, not damaged or shifted. Spring mounts. The mounts are here and here, securing the leaf spring to the frame. They are secured, not damaged, and have no missing parts. Shocks. Shock is right there. Secured, not damaged or leaking. Brake lines. Right here, leading from into the brake area, secured, not damaged or leaking. Brake linings, hard to see, but it's inside the back of the rim, free of oil and grease. Now we move to the tires. So we have 4/32 of an inch of tread depth. That can be checked with a gauge. There are no bulges or damage to the sidewall. Valve stem is right here. Valve stem is capped and not damaged. And you can check the tire pressure with a gauge at the valve stem. Rims, no cracks, dents, or welds, and the stud holes, which are underneath the lug nuts, are not elongated. If they were elongated, you'd be able to see them here and here. Lug nuts, secured, not loose or missing, and no broken studs. Studs are right here. That is the driver's side. Now we're going to move over to the passenger side. Passenger side, we just have one thing to look at, and that is the engine coolant. That is right here. It is secured, no leaks, and the level is between add and full. Now we're going to close the hood. Make sure to latch it on each side. All right, those are both tight. So that is the end of section 1 under the hood. Now section 2, air brake test. So as we're going into the bus, we're going to hit some items that are not part of the brake test, but we're going in, we're passing them, we're going to not check those off as we're heading to the driver's seat. Starting with the service door. And if you forget, like I just did, make sure that you switch the switch in here from normal to emergency. You switch right there. That way the service doors will open and close. You can open and close them manually. So service door, secure, not damaged. Door opens and closes smoothly. Steps, secured, not damaged, free of debris. The handrails are secure, and the light works. Reflective triangles, as we're moving into the bus, are right here. They are secure. Let's get these stuffed animals out of the way. That's good enough, I guess. All right, body fluid kit is right here. It's secured and not missing any items. First aid kit, also secure and not missing any items. Fire extinguisher, secured, charged here. The pin is in place and the tag is up to date. Now we're going to enter the bus and invite the tester to come on in. And so the tester's going to come in. And then we're going to go back to the switch, put that back to normal. And we're going to, actually no, we're going to leave that door open and the window open. So as we're doing the air brake test, we can hear inside and outside the bus, hearing and checking for any leaks. So now we start the air brake test. Now before we start the air brake test, once again, we're going to look at these air tanks, make sure they haven't lost any air. And these ones, they're full, so they're good. So we can do the air brake test and not have to worry about having any problems. If for some reason you have to redo anything in the air brake test, you need to start from the very beginning and get every single item right. So you don't want to have to go back if you don't have to. So just make sure that everything's set and ready to go before you start the air brake test. So it's very important. Announce each test and explain what you're doing. We're starting with the ABS test. That means when we turn it off and then back to run, all the lights are going to come on the dash. ABS light is right about here. It's going to come on and turn off, and that's going to indicate that the ABS is working properly. So we're going to start with that. Off, run. There's the ABS light. It is on. Now it's turned off. So we're going to tell the tester the ABS is operational in the dash and then goes out. DEF level. Not part of your brake test, but as long as we're here, we're going to cover that. DEF level is at proper level. We need at least 2 bars or half a tank, and we have that. So DEF shows proper level. Now we're going to hold the brake down again until the lights go off. And then we're going to push in the parking brake. Once you push in that parking brake, you do not take your foot off of the service pedal. That's an automatic fail. So we're going to push in the parking brake, and we're going to start our 1-minute air loss test. So you're going to ask the tester, can you time me for 1 minute? They'll say, yeah, sure. 1 minute starting now. And you're going to hold the brake down. You're going to be listening. Not hearing any air hissing inside or outside of the bus. And they're going to count you up to a full minute. You're going to continue to watch these gauges, make sure they're not moving. You can't lose more than 3 psi during this test. And you want to hold your foot firmly on the brake, because if you move it around at all, you're going to lose air. So just keep it firmly on the brake. They're going to count you 58, 59, 1 minute, 60 seconds. All right, so your minute is up. And you're going to say the air tanks did not lose more than 3 psi, easy for me to say, during that minute. Again, don't take your foot off the brake pedal. Now we're going to go into the low air warning and parking brake pop-out test. So you're going to announce the alarm, light, and buzzer should activate before 55 psi. Then you're going to pump the brake until the alarm and buzzer activate. Now there's 2 alarms. You have to wait for them both to go off. Then you stop. The alarm and buzzer activated at 60 psi. Now the spring brake should pop out between 20 and 45 psi. So we're going to continue pumping until the spring brake pops out. Now, once this is popped out, you can take your foot off the service brake. So that's popped out. And we're going to tell them the spring brake popped out at 20 psi. Now we're going to start the bus. From this point, when it's in the run position like that, you don't need to turn it off and back on again. You can just start it. But if you turn this off and on too many times, it'll activate what's called diagnostic mode, and this box up here will talk and talk and talk for about 3 minutes. And you don't want that. You don't want to do that. All right. So now you're going to say, you're going to just tap the brake, and that'll get the high idle going. So again, we're up at 1200 psi. And you're going to tell the tester the governor should shut off the compressor at between 120 and 140 psi. And the alarm and buzzer should shut off between 60 and 75 psi. So now we're going to wait. And at about 75, there we go. Our alarm buzzer shut off. We continue to let the tanks fill with air. And we're going to listen for that governor to sneeze or make the noise, indicating that the governor has shut off the compressor, which means the tanks are full. And that should happen on these buses at 120 psi. But you're going to give them that range of 120 to 145, because that's the range that in any other bus where it's going to fall into where that happens. But on these, what you're testing in, 120 psi is where you're going to hear that. And we're almost there. 120 is the line right here. There it is. So you're going to tell them the governor shut off the compressor at 120 psi. So now we're going to move on to the parking brake test. So now we're going to shut the door because we're about to move the bus. And we're going to put on the seatbelt, because anytime you're moving the bus, you need to have your seatbelt on. So we're going to foot on the brake, put it in drive, and we're just going to take our foot off the brake, leaving the parking brake on, and just give it two little bursts of acceleration, not a whole lot, just to show that the parking brake is working. I'm going to put that back to neutral. So, and then you're going to say to the tester, the bus does not move, showing that the parking brake is holding. Now we're going to test the service brake. So now we're going to put it in drive, disengage the parking brake, and we're going to take the foot off the service brake, and we don't need to give it gas. just move forward with your hands off the wheel 2 times. Because you want to make sure that this wheel is not turning, if the brakes are not pulling either way. Now we're going to secure the bus. I'm going to tell the tester the brakes are working properly and the steering wheel did not pull to the left or the right. Now leave the bus running. Now this is section 2. That's the end of the air brake test. So now we're going to leave the bus running as we go to section 3. Inside the bus. We're going to start with the backup camera. So we're going to foot on the service brake, reverse, and we're just looking to see that the backup camera is working. Now in this case it's dirty, but it will be clean for the test. So you're going to tell the tester the camera is clean, working, the display is operational, and I can hear the backup alarm working properly. Back to neutral, parking brake is still engaged, so we're going to shut down the bus. Now remember, every time you shut down the bus, you're going to go to the off position, back to run, hold the brake pedal, wait for the lights to go off. All right, the lights are off. So that means the child check alarm is disabled. So now we're going to go through our instrument panel controls, starting with the horn. Works when pressed. Windshield. I'm going to move this book, which actually I can bring that in. So you don't want anything on your windshield, or blocking on the dashboard, blocking your windshield. So windshield, not damaged, clean, and free of obstruction. Mirrors. Now at this point, all 7 mirrors are securely mounted, clean, not damaged, and properly adjusted. So this is where you would adjust your mirrors if you needed to. Right turn signal. I can see it working in the dash and in the crossover mirror. Left turn signal. I can see it working on the dash and in the crossover mirror. 4-way flashers, which are on top of the steering column. I can see they are working on the dash and in the crossover mirror. And we're going to leave the 4-way flashers on. Strobe light, right on your left, kind of by your left knee. We turn that on. Headlights. We turn on the headlights. I can see them in the crossover mirrors. High beams. We turn the high beams on. I can see them on the dash, and I can also see them in the crossover mirrors. I'm going to turn those high beams back off. Windshield wipers. They are working on low, high. The blades are secure, not damaged, and the washer fluid is working. There we go. Turn those off. Front heaters and defrosters. Now we're going to start with our 2 defrost fans here and right there behind mirror number 7. Works on low and high. Works on low and high. Now we're going to move to the defrost on the dash. This will always be in your way. So works on low and high. Works on all settings. And it works on cold and hot. Now we're going to turn that back off. So you're going to touch all 3 of these when you're doing the on the instrument panel here when you're testing that. All right, master switch. So now we're going to turn on the master switch, which is over here, and that's going to activate our yellow 8-ways. And then you're going to tell them, I can see in my crossover mirrors that the front yellow 8-way lights are lit and the lenses are present, not damaged, clean, and they are properly colored. Now we walk the bus. Take your seatbelt off. All right, seats and frames. So we're going to randomly check seats and frames as we're moving from the front to the back of the bus. Frames, seats, and the backs. Make sure that they are secured and not damaged. All right, so now we're going to talk about our emergency exits. You're going to say, I have 7 emergency exits. I have 2 on the passenger side, 2 on the driver's side, 2 on the roof, and 1 in the back. So now we're going to check the emergency exit in the back. When you open this, make sure that you're bracing yourself, as if it's windy out and you open this door and the wind's coming this way, it'll pull you right out of the bus. So one hand, right hand here. You're going to open this. You're going to step out. You're going to see 8 ways, 4 ways. Turn. Now you got left hand here, right hand here. You're going to look 8 ways, 4 ways. Shut the door. And you're going to tell your tester 4-way flashes are, right, yellow 8-way lights and 4-way flashers are lit, and all lenses are present, not damaged, clean, and properly colored. And then, of course, you shut the rear door. And since you're right here, we're going to grab the empty sign, and we're going to bring that back to the front of the bus. Stuck in there. And your empty sign, you're always going to put, as a new driver, you're always going to put it right here so it's in your line of sight. So you're going to remember every day you're going to hang this, do your child check and all that. So you're going to put that right here. All right, so now we're going to open the service doors, and that's going to activate our red 8-way lights. Do that. So now we're going to turn off the 4 ways, turn on your left turn signal, and turn off your strobe light. And now we're going to head outside. So that was section 3, inside the bus. So now we're on the final section, which is outside the bus. So we're going to exit the bus and start in the front. So front of the bus, starting with the crossing gate. This crossing gate is secure, not damaged, working, and fully extended. And then you're going to point to all the lights as we're doing from top to bottom. First, we're going to talk about your lenses. All lenses are present, not damaged, clean, and properly colored. And then we're going to go clearance lights, 3 on top, 8-way reds, headlights, and left turn signal are all lit. Now we're going to move to the driver's side. I'm going to open up the battery box. Pull it out. So it just makes it easier to see. So the cables and lines are secure, not damaged. Connections are secure, not corroded. Batteries and door are secure. So when we push this back in, that's going to be secure. We shut the door, that is also secure. And then stop arms. Secure. Lights are working on both sides, front and back. So we're going to walk back here and just show them, okay, we're checking on both sides. Lights are working on both sides, and they are both fully extended. Now, we're going to do the lights again. So first, we're going to talk about our lenses and reflectors. They are present, not damaged, clean, and properly colored. And then clearance lights, all 3 of those lights are lit. Under the bus. Frame, we're just going to kind of indicate to the frame, which is actually not here, it's actually further inside, but we don't have to crawl underneath the bus anymore like we used to. So you're just going to indicate to the frame area, that it's secure, there are no holes or damage, and all cross members are present. Now we go to the rear of the bus. So again, we're starting with all lenses and reflectors. They are present, not damaged, clean, and properly colored. Now we're going to look for the and point out the lights individually. Clearance lights, 3 on the top, 8-way red, left turn signal. They are all lit. Rear emergency exit. So we're going to open the rear emergency exit and make sure it opens all the way. That locks in place. Hear the alarm going off, and you're going to tell them the emergency exit opens and closes smoothly, the door locks in place, and the alarm sounds when opened. Brake lights. So now it's the point where you're going to ask the tester, hey, can you stay back here and help me to check the brake lights? Just give me a thumbs up if they're working. And they'll say, okay. So then we're going to put a ghost tester back here, and we're going to come up. So this is what you, as the driver, are going to do. Ghost tester is back here. We're going to go to the bus. So we're going to enter the bus. And close the door. Turn off your master switch. So then we're going to press down the brake pedal and yell out, brake! And they're going to be good. Give you a thumbs up, and they'll probably say good or something like that. So now you've tested your brakes. So we're going to turn off the left turn signal, turn on the right turn signal, and then we're going to open the door. And since your master switch is off, we already tested the 8 ways. Those are done. We're going to go back to the back of the bus because there's still one light left that we have to check, and that's the right turn signal because we just turned it on. So we can test this side of the bus and see the lights working. So the very last thing you do for the rear of the bus, come back here and say, left turn signal is lit. Right turn signal is lit. Yeah. Thank you. So now all we have left is the passenger side. Easiest side. 2 things. Fuel tank. You're going to open this up. The cap is tight. The tank is secure, not damaged, and is not leaking. And then DEF tank. Same thing. Open her up. Cap is tight. Tank is secure, not damaged or leaking. This one you can actually see the tank from. That other one you can't. So we're going to close this back up. And then we have our blanket statement. So in the event that you missed any of the words or any of the lights going around the outside of the bus, this is your kind of say-all, be-all statement. Hear ye, hear ye. All of my lights are lit, and all lenses and reflectors are present, not damaged, clean, and properly colored. And that concludes your free trip. Bye.